grab your blocks and we'll do an extended child's pose. So come to your hands and knees, place your hands on blocks, shoulder distance apart. Bring your big toes to touch, knees a little bit wider than your hips. Pull your hips back and slide your hands with the blocks forward so that your trunk and your arms are very extended. Pull your buttocks back and let your spine elongate here and stay active in your arms. Stretch through the elbows, stretch through the palms. Lift your chest and lengthen your chest forward, elongating the abdomen, and then release your head down again towards the mat. Spread your fingers and pull your outer hips back as much as you stretch your side ribs forward. Breathing here, relaxing into the length, relaxing into the extension. Smooth, steady breath as you stay active, lengthening the front of the spine, lengthening through the armpits. Breathing here. And then slide the blocks back a little bit as you come up to hands and knees and come out of the pose. Now for Urdhva Hastasana with a block and a strap. Place the block between your feet and hold the strap in your hands so that your hands are about shoulder distance apart. The inner feet should be hugging the outer edges of the block. And then reach your arms up overhead. Put a little tension in the strap. Elongate through your whole body, your trunk and your limbs. And think of the thighs pulling back, especially the inner thighs pulling back. You can do a little bit of internal rotation in your thighs, especially at the very tops of the thighs, the roots of the legs. So turn your thighs in and pull the thighs back. Maintaining that, lift the low belly and let the upper buttocks release down. Pull the upper inner thighs back and then lengthen up through the rib cage, through the arms. Connect your feet to the ground, lift the arches and lift all the way up through the body, through the arms. And then as you exhale, lower your arms down. Now we'll do another version of downward dog with hands on blocks. So place your yoga blocks against the wall on the sticky mat, about shoulder distance apart, and be on hands and knees here with your hands on blocks. And then slowly step up to down dog. Lift the buttocks up and back. Press your hands into the blocks and think of pulling your upper inner thighs up and back away from the push of the hands. Keep your knees bent if that makes it easier for you to keep your buttocks lifted. Think of the backs of your legs getting longer and broader, and lift up also through the fronts of the legs. Lift the toes to wake up the muscles of the feet and pull your outer hips back as much as the inner thighs are pulling back. Think of your pelvis pulling back and up off of the rib cage. Pull your rib cage up and back off of the shoulders. Lengthen and stretch through your arms. Be active in your limbs. Breathe here as you think of elongating the spine. Steady inhale, steady exhale. Again, find a press of the hands onto the blocks. Find the full height of the legs. And then lower your knees down and rest. Parshva Konasana at the wall. Have your block ready. Step your feet wide with the outer left foot at the wall. Have your toes pointing in slightly, be lifted through the arches, long legs, internal rotation in the thighs, and press your thighs back. Lift up through the front of the spine, pull your shoulders back and breathe. And then turn your entire right leg out and bend your right knee directly over the midline of the right foot. Place your hand on the block. The block is right at the inside of the right foot, and pull the left arm towards the wall and lengthen your spine. Make sure the right hip, the right buttock, is really underneath you and not behind you. And then lift your left arm to the ceiling and spread wide across your chest. Lengthen the back leg, lengthen through the trunk. And then sweep your arm all the way across, gaze at the top palm, and turn your rib cage open towards the ceiling. Pull that right buttock to the left and underneath you. Breathing here, elongate your whole body. Be very engaged in your legs. Smooth, deep breath. Exhale and look down. With strong legs, inhale and come up, hands on hips. Move the block to the side and make your feet parallel again, toes even a little turned in. Recover with an open chest and then step your feet together. Release your hands from your hips and stretch the arms and the legs. Lift the front of the spine and then turn around for the other side. Place the outer right foot at the wall. Have your toes pointing in slightly. Lift the toes, lift the arches of the feet, lift up through the legs and press your thighs back, inner thighs back. Lift through the front of the spine, shoulders and elbows back. Turn the entire left leg out. And then bend the left knee. Think of that left buttock dropping down and underneath you so the buttock isn't behind you at all. And then place your left hand down on the block on the inside of the left foot. Stretch the back leg. Stretch your right arm towards the wall. And pull the spine away from the reach of the back foot. Pull your spine away from the back foot, elongating it from the bottom of the spine all the way through the cervical spine. Lift the right arm up. Spread wide across the chest, and again invite the left buttock to come underneath you. Think of the whole right side of the body elongating. And then sweep the right arm across and gaze up at the top palm. Be in your whole body. Smooth breathing. Keep that left knee open. Stretch the back leg. Elongate your trunk, elongate the abdomen. Breathing here. Exhale and look down. And with strong legs, inhale, come on up. Stretching through the legs, hands on hips. And then make your feet parallel and recover with an open chest. And step your feet together. Now for Uttanasana at the wall. Take your back to the wall. Walk your feet forward about a foot away from the wall. Lean your buttocks back. And then hinge at the hips to come forward. Pull the flesh of the buttocks up the wall. And then grab opposite elbows. And using your hands, pull your elbows down and release the weight of your trunk. Think of drawing up through the legs. Lean the pelvis back into the wall. And let your rib cage and your abdomen lengthen down. Let the upper arms lengthen down and relax your head. Keep some energy in the legs. Think of the inner edges of the legs, the insides of the legs lengthening. And now switch the cross of the arms. Reach your chest forward to elongate the belly and release the trunk back down. Let the spine release. Let each vertebrae release one by one. Drawing up through the legs. And let your spine relax and release down, leaning into the wall here. Think of a relaxed, long abdomen. Inner thighs gently reaching back. Slide your buttocks up the wall as you release your head down further. And then release the bind from your hands. Bring your hands to your outer hips. Lift the shoulders, lift the chest, and come up. And then take your weight away from the wall. Next, we'll do Ardha Uttanasana. Place your blocks onto the sticky mat, about 1.5 feet in front of you. Make sure your feet and legs are parallel. Internally rotate the thighs and draw up through the musculature of the legs. Hands on hips. Shoulders back, lift through the spine, and then hinge at the hips to come forward, placing your hands on blocks. Reach the chest forward and pull the thighs back. Stretch the arms and stretch the legs. Think of the upper inner thighs reaching back as you lengthen the abdomen forward, lengthen the bottom front ribs forward, spread wide through the collarbones. Think of the backs of the legs lengthening and lifting up. Lift the buttocks, even think of spreading the buttocks, and pull the front ribs forward. Lengthen the front of your spine here. Make sure your weight is even on the inner and outer edges of the feet. Think of lifting the inner arches, lift the ankles. And then make your legs taller as you lower your hands down towards your feet, onto the floor, and fold yourself fully down now, coming into Uttanasana, just for a moment. And then hands on hips, lift the shoulders and chest, and come on up. Recover here with an open chest. Grab your strap now for Utkatasana, chair pose. Feet parallel, hip distance apart. Lift the strap overhead and then bend your knees and lower your hips back and down like you're sitting back into a chair. But keep your strap lifting up and back. Think of the shoulder blades firming forward and the arms reaching back, elbows extending. And again, pull the pelvis back and down. You can lift the toes here. Lift the arches of the feet. Bend your knees deeply. And then inhale and straighten the legs. Lift the arms even more up. And then exhale and lower your arms down. And now for a version of Prasarita. Have your blocks ready and put them on their highest height in front of your mat. And stand in Tadasana, taking your thighs back, lengthen through the spine, energize your arms and your legs. And then hands on hips, step your feet wide, toes pointing in slightly. Again, lift up through the musculature of the legs and pull the thighs back. Don't let your hips sit forward at all. Thighs and pelvis back. Lengthen the waist, lengthen the spine, shoulders back. Inhale and look up, and then exhale and fold forward and bring your hands onto the blocks. Stretch your chest forward here, pull your thighs back, pull your inner thighs back, lengthen through the arms. And then move your right hand and the block that's under your right hand to the center. And take your left arm up towards the ceiling. And twist your spine and rib cage around. Pull your thighs back again. Think of turning the right ribs under and the left ribs open. Even turn the belly. And then exhale and come down, and now move the left hand and block to the center. And lift your right arm up. Stretch the front of your spine, stretch your upper thighs back. And turn the right ribs open as you bring the left ribs under. Spread across the chest. Be long in your spine. Create more length there. As you lower your arms, stay strong and lifted in your legs. And then lower your blocks onto the medium height. Re-stretch the backs of your legs. Re-stretch the chest forward. Bring your right hand and block to the center and lift the left arm up. Open the left ribs. Lift the abdomen up to the ceiling to twist further. Stay even in your legs. Even and engaged. Inner feet connecting to the ground. Lower down and switch sides. Left hand and block to the center. Twist to reach the right arm up, opening the right ribs. Lift the abdomen. Stay long and strong in the legs. Pull the thighs back. Pull the chest forward. Breathing here. Exhale and come down. Walk your feet in slightly. Bring your hands to your hips. Keep stretching the chest forward as you come all the way up. Shoulders back. And then step your feet together. And now for Prasarita Padottanasana, classic variation. Step your feet wide, hands on hips, toes turning in slightly. It's nice to line up your heels with the back edge of the mat, and you can really see if you're even in your stance. Thighs back, shoulders back, long spine. Stretch your arms out to the sides. Spread your right arm to the right and your left arm to the left. Inner thighs back, long through the waist. Radiate out through your limbs. And then hands back to your hips again. Lengthen the spine even more, shoulders back, look up, and then exhale and fold forward. Make your legs taller as you fold forward, fingertips down. Stretch your chest forward. Make your legs taller. And then as you exhale, fold down forward, bringing your hands right between your feet, bending at the elbows. Spread your hands, spread the soles of the feet. Be very alive and long and engaged in your legs, and let your spine release down, and let the top of your head come towards the floor. It may touch, it may not. Pull your elbows back towards your shoulders and gently lift the shoulders away from the floor as you release the spine down even more. Lift and broaden the backs of your legs, lift the buttocks. Connect your feet to the ground, lengthen your legs again. And then walk your fingertips forward. Walk your feet in slightly. Take your hands to hips, lift your shoulders and elbows, and come up with an open chest. And then step your feet together to recover. Now we'll practice Supta Virasana. So get your bolster ready. Spread out your blanket as you see here. Come onto your shins. Bring the top of your head to the floor and pull your calves out to the sides so you can rest your thighs down and your hips down between your feet. Make sure your feet are pointing straight back. And then pull your torso back so that the bolster is supporting you under your rib cage. And then reach your arms up and overhead. Think of the roots of your thighs, the very tops of your thighs, sinking and releasing down. Soften in your groins. Let the pubic bone release down towards the floor. Think of a soft, long belly here, a long abdomen. Stretch your arms back, keep the hands and fingers open. Let your head release back over the bolster and enjoy the length in the front side of your trunk. Long abdomen here. Release the right and left sides of the pubic bone down, softening more and more in the groins. And use your hands for support as you come out of the pose. Lean onto your hands and stretch your right leg back to open the back of the right leg, and then stretch the left leg back to open the back of the left leg. We'll do a stretch now called pigeon. Please start on your hands and knees with a blanket underneath your knees for padding. And pull the right shin forward and set up so that your right knee, your front knee, is wider than your right hip. Balance on your fingertips here. Tuck your back toes under, lift your back thigh, and make sure that that back thigh is inwardly rotating. So the back of your leg is pointing towards the ceiling and the front of your left leg is pointing down. And then walk your fingertips back. Let your shoulders go back. So the heads of the humerus are really back, massaging the backs of the shoulder sockets. And then lengthen up through the spine. Keep the hips square. Pull the right femur back into the socket. Lengthen through the front of the spine. And then elongate your trunk forward so that you come onto your forearms. Breathe into the backs of your lungs. Be long in the front half and the back half of your trunk. Let the outer left thigh release down. And breathe deeply here. Breathe into the sensations you feel in that right hip. Let your low belly lift and be buoyant, so no hardness or pushing out in the belly. Let your body receive the stretch here. If you can start to elongate through the arms and rest your forehead down on the mat. Again, pull the outer right femur back towards the hip, which will help keep your hips square. Be in your whole body here as you breathe. Breathe into the right hip. Smooth, deep breathing. And start to walk your hands back to come back into the upright pigeon. Shoulders back and chest open. Think of the shoulder blades hugging forward into the rib cage and lift from underneath the collarbones. And then bring your hands down and come back onto hands and knees to switch sides. Now take your left shin forward. Reach your left knee quite wide so your knee is wider than your hip. And then walk your hands back. Tuck your back toes under. Lift your back thigh. Make sure your back thigh is internally rotating. And then walk your hands back more, shoulders back more. Lift up through the front of the spine and even look up. Enjoy the stretch of this upright pigeon, lengthening through the sides of the trunk, lengthening through the waist, keeping the hips square here. Be on your fingertips, shoulders back, abdomen long, rib cage lifting, especially in the front. Think of the left femur pulling back into the socket. And then elongate yourself forward to come onto forearms. Release the outer right thigh down. Release the right side of your pelvis down. Pull the outer left thigh back towards the outer hip. Think of a long spine here. Breathe into the front of your trunk. Breathe into the back of your trunk. Breathe into the sensations of your left hip. Smooth breath here, and if you'd like to go deeper, then stretch your arms, walk your hands forward, and rest your forehead down on the mat. Breathe length into your whole body. Stay engaged here as you breathe, as you receive and relax into the sensations. And now start to walk your hands back to come back into an upright pigeon. Bring your hands back towards your hips. Now lift the low belly. Lift up through the lungs, shoulders back. Hips are still square. And then come back into hands and knees. And recover in a neutral position here. Now we'll practice Supta Baddha Konasana. So have your bolster lengthwise on your mat with a folded blanket on the far end of the bolster for a pillow. Set up the bolster so it's right behind you, but with some space between your buttocks and the bolster. And with a blanket also resting by your feet, start to lay back along the bolster. And then you'll wrap the blanket over your feet and bunch the blanket up so that it supports your knees and outer thighs. And as you lay back on the bolster, find a nice place for the folded blanket so that your neck and head are supported. And relax your arms out to the sides. Make sure that there is some space between where your buttocks is touching the floor and the bolster. So the lower spine, lower back area should be free. You don't want the bolster supporting too much of your lower back here. And make sure the flesh of your buttocks is releasing down and under you, so the low back is long. And take as much time as you need here to settle down, find the right position, get comfortable. And release here and relax into the support of the props. Deepen your breath. And you can play with finding the right arm position, maybe a little more towards the legs. Maybe arms can be around at shoulder height. Relax your limbs, relax your trunk. Deepen and smooth out and slow down your breathing here. Smooth, slow exhalations.